pandemic in town, and it's taking creators down a rabbit hole of corruption in Massachusetts town. It strikes at the heart of bloggers, no matter podcaster or receiver. It can strike you like a Lexus, then you've got Karen Red River fever. While all the symptoms are quite acute, and you'll ask things differently by far, you will utter what if anything, or you'll be screaming outside.
Screaming outside.
Bye. 3 times while making butt dials as well. No matter how hard you try to fight it, you just can't unring that bell. So once you finally say I'll allow it,
I'll allow it. Good morning, Chrissy.
You'll find yourself behind that buffer zone, 'cause you got Karen Red River fever.
Morning, Lee. Right, smells good. Helps you start the camera. Morning. Owls. Just ow. Yeah, that wasn't too good on the back, but as you can see, we have the freshly washed mop. Nah. Looks like I've just been, well, I can't remember what that is now. Good morning and good morning. If you're just joining us for the first time, suffering your jocks. If you've been here before, well, you know what you're in for. Oh, you sent me a link in Gmail. But in your spare time, I'll enjoy it. Ooh, behave. Okie dokie. Spare time. I actually had dinner, got everything organized, went down, put my makeup on, and Felix, the little black mummy's boy, was asleep on his electric blanket next to me because they're not spoilt at all. Oh, that's what I need to put on mine. So I sort of laid down beside him and put my head on the pillow and was scratching his belly. Might have dozed off for 10 minutes. Oh, shit. Oh, Lord. Oh, is this the guy? Is it E.B. Haven or something? The guy that does all the testing on the arms. He actually had a, oh shit. No way. He actually had a proper arm with a bone in it and drove a Lexus into it and showed what damage it actually did. I've been watching him. Yeah, that's it. Yep, seen it. Yep. There's no way that could not occur. Apparently Reddit has, I haven't read it, but Reddit. Apparently it's been going off. And that same guy that you've watched, did you see that he didn't even use a Toyota text data? He had a Bosch plugged into the car because apparently only Toyota technicians can access that particular text stream, and it provides dates, times, mileage to the 0.1 of a mile or something. And yeah, he said his data was all fucked. He did nothing. I know he did nothing as far as the data and forensic experiments on the vehicle pedestrian. But nothing. Like, okay, so you put some blue paint on your arm. You didn't show me how that translated into the injuries and the position. Sorry. No. Just no. So many data points for the Traverse and the Lexus. And then I was watching Runkle today. Oh, do they? Bugger. Yeah. Why is it doing that? Something is wrong with my mouse, I swear. Yeah, he that watching Runkle today, and he said, you know how that he panned back to where the actual collision, where the two cars actually touched, and it was all blurry, and he said, oh, you can't actually see the impact points because they're not 90 degrees, together, like they're not 90 degrees apart or something like that. And Ian said, you've 3D scanned it. You can have a look from inside the fucking car if you want to. Like, you can look from any point, anywhere. So it doesn't have a lot of credibility in the community, apparently. Just saying. And what shits me is that he's not only is he boring as fuck, but he's like the rest of them. He won't answer the question. He's evasive. He knows exactly what is being asked, but he's being deliberately confusing. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to make it confusing, and that shits me to tears. Just he's been paid $335,000 to pay what Hank wants him to say, and he doesn't know how to answer, honestly, because he can't. So, oh well, we'll hear him out. I was really hoping that Jackson would have a go because I enjoy watching him and I'd like him to fire up. We need some action, Jackson. So let's get into it, shall we? I'll try not to say the C word as much as I did yesterday. Can't promise, though. I reckon we do a word count today. How many times the word predicate gets said today? How's that? Predicate. Because Alessi likes his big words. Oh, and I had so much I was going to do. I've got a list here that I wanted to cover. The definition of what confirmation bias is. What's the difference between a biomedical and a biomechanical engineer? The requirements for forensic pedestrian vehicular reconstruction criteria. That was my homework. I did enough of it. None of it. What was I looking for? It'll come back to me someday. All right, play. Beverly Cantoni. Oops, a daisy. Sorry, not sorry.
Sure, I'll remind you you're still on your own.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor.
And there's no court tomorrow too, is there? I think it was a really, really short week. Is that right? Or have I got it wrong?
And Dr. Welcher, we're going to ask you to not turn on your computer.
Yeah.
Okey-dokey.
Apparently RA said that he was checking his messages on his Garmin watch during yesterday's testimony. So, jury having a half day today. Does that mean it's what is the court still going? They're going to do some mentions or arguments or whatever, or are they just having a half day?
And Your Honor, if I could,
on, check it out.
smartwatches that are receiving text messages during his direct, if we
There you
can
go.
make sure that that does not occur.
Get my email. That's like all the time.
Okay, or just don't look at your watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Dr. Welcher.
Good morning.
He's already pissed him off.
Do you know whether there was glass found on the bumper of Miss Reed's Lexus SUV?
It's my understanding there was, yes.
Did you reach a conclusion on whether the glass on the bumper came from the drinking glass that you assert Mr. O'Keefe was holding at the time of
gonna
the
go.
alleged impact?
1.5.
I didn't have an opportunity to inspect the glass, but the glass was broken and there was glass on the bumper. That's all I know.
So you, as you sit here today, you have no basis to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from the glass that you depict as having been held by Mr. O'Keefe at the time of the alleged impact. Is that correct?
That too.
You're mixing a couple things.
No, Dr. Welcher,
So can
if you can just answer my question. If
trying
I
to.
need to rephrase it, I will.
Um,
I'll ask it a different way.
Please.
You have no basis as you sit here today to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from a drinking glass connected to Mr. O'Keefe, do you?
Well, we have a picture of a broken glass at the scene. So I wouldn't say we have no basis. We don't necessarily have enough to conclude it's from it, though.
Do you had depictions in your test with Mr. O'Keefe holding a glass, correct?
Correct.
My question is, you have no evidence to show at all other than, and I'm talking evidence, testing information. You're saying you have no evidence that shows that the glass on the bumper is not the same glass as you showed on your slides as being found supposedly at the scene. You have no test evidence that that's the same glass, do you?
So again, the one I have at my testing obviously was not the same glass. We have pictures of a broken bar glass in the snow near where Mr. O'Keefe's body was. We have glass fragments on the rear of the bumper. That's the extent of my knowledge on the correlation between those two.
So do you said you reviewed the reports and testimonies of various Commonwealth representatives, correct? That's in your report.
Correct. In the initial.
In the initial, right, correct. And some of those reports included forensic scientists who work for the Massachusetts State Police, correct?
I believe that's correct.
And you put those in your report as documents that you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And as you sit here today, it's your testimony. You don't know whether in any of the reports of the Massachusetts State Police, there is an answer to the question of whether there's any connection at all between the glass found in the snow and the glass on the bumper.
I recall it being inconclusive.
Oh, so you recall that the testing was inconclusive?
I don't remember what testing they did. But for example, when they put the taillight fragments back together, they were able to deduce that the fragments were from the taillight. I don't think they attempted to do that with the glass.
Assume that there has been testing of the glass on the bumper,
Mhm.
and assume that that testing conclusively determines that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snow.
Okay.
Assume that.
Okay.
How would that affect your analysis?
I'd want to know where the glass came from, but we still have a whole bunch of other elements. So I don't think it would affect the end results.
So would it have any part in your analysis with my assumption that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that's associated with the broken glass that was supposedly found in the snow?
Yes, I mean, we always want to have as much answers or as many answers as possible. So I would want to know if we could figure out where it came from.
And wouldn't the fact, assuming that the test results show there's no connection, meaning the glass on the bumper is different from the glass in the snow, wouldn't that be contrary to your theory of what happened in some way?
It depends on when the glass was actually broken. The glass was in his hand, at least that's the testimonial evidence I've seen. So it depends on whether it's broken from contact with the rear of the vehicle or broken with contact on the ground.
Assume that the glass on the bumper
Is in his
is
hand.
not the glass that was found in the snowbank. Doesn't that, at least in part, contradict your hypothesis
Yeah.
as to whether there was contact by the Lexus with Mr. O'Keefe at 34 Fairview?
So if you recall on my slides, nowhere
Ah.
did we discuss that in my slides.
Yes,
So,
you did.
no,
You
it
said he
wouldn't
had the
contradict
glass
it.
in his
I would want to
hand.
know where that glass came from.
But you didn't seek that information, did you, sir, in your analysis?
Oh, no,
to
he said he had to
determine
find it.
where the glass came from.
Of course I did. I read the reports about it.
But you sit here and you say you don't know the answer. There's steps you could have taken to get that answer quite easily. Couldn't you have, sir?
Not me. That's a material science expert.
You've been communicating with Lieutenant Tully, haven't you?
Correct.
You couldn't have asked Lieutenant Tully that question?
But to my knowledge, he's not a material science expert.
But could he have told you the result of testing
investigate.
on that glass on the bumper and whether it was any way associated with the glass found in the snow? Wouldn't that have been an easy question to ask him? Just, has there been testing? And if so, what's the results?
Yes, but my knowledge from reading the reports was it was inconclusive.
But you didn't read all of the reports, did you, sir?
Apparently not.
Let's turn to another topic, laser scans. Part of your analysis involved conducting laser scans of portions of 1 Meadows Avenue, the house of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Those laser scans were used, at least in part, to answer the question of whether the collision between Ms.
wonder if
Reed's
they asked
SUV
that
and
question
Mr.
to me.
O'Keefe's Chevy Traverse at 1 Meadows at approximately 5:07 a.m. on January 29, 2022, caused the right rear taillight of the Lexus to break, correct?
Correct.
And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
You want to get it as accurate
It's
as
always
possible.
matter.
And the reason why inches matter is because, and we're going to get to this, you tried, and you did it in your slide presentation on Direct, you tried to see whether the Lexus lined up with the Traverse such that there could be a break of the taillight. That was part of your analysis, correct?
So the main part of the photogrammetry was to determine the speeds and the angles and the degree of overlap on the vehicles. And then we also looked at the damage from the video, or actually it's just where the snow was knocked off the rear of the Chevy Traverse, and document the height of that.
You said the main part. I don't want to engage in semantics. I want to go to my question of, isn't part of the laser scan analysis to determine whether or not those two vehicles align sufficiently such that the Lexus could break, the taillight of the Lexus could break coming into contact with the Chevy Traverse? Wasn't that part of your analysis, at least in part?
Yes.
Okay. And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
It can, depending on which way you're going inches.
So the Ring camera at 1 Meadows, you're familiar with that Ring camera, right? At
Correct.
1 Meadows? That Ring camera at 1 Meadows was used as part of the laser scan process that you and your firm Aperture performed at 1 Meadows on October 2nd, 2024. Do I have the date correct?
I believe so, but like the videos were not literally used during the laser scans. We did the laser scans, the video, combined them together in a process called photogrammetry.
Okay, let's get this down to the fundamentals. You used, and that was my question, Your Honor, if we could publish the exhibit with regard to the Ring camera.
Sure, what exhibit is
Yeah,
that?
I've got my exhibit.
None of these fuckers can give a
Dr. Welcher,
straight
you
answer.
recognize that Ring camera as being at 1 Meadows. You discussed it, as a matter of fact, on your direct testimony, correct?
Yes.
Now, that Ring camera was utilized as part of your laser scan process, correct? It was used.
So you're confusing laser scan and photogrammetry. The video, the laser scanners are together used in the photogrammetry. The camera and the laser scans are not used necessarily with each other.
Was that Ring camera used for any part of your work?
Absolutely, the photogrammetry.
I just need to be able to finish my question, sir. Was that
sorry.
Ring camera used for any part of your work at 1 Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
Yes.
And it was used for what purpose?
In the photogrammetric process, to establish the position and dimensions of various
Yes.
things in the video.
I
So then we
understand
could
that.
go back and overlay the vehicles and track the tracks in the snow, as well as look at the damage to the vehicles.
Right. So this was used to, as a basis, not the only one, to establish dimensions of the other work that was done in analysis at 1 Meadows, correct?
Correct.
Wasn't that
You can
hard,
put that
was
down,
it?
Mr. Woke.
Fuck it.
You know that the Ring camera at 1 Meadows, in existence when Aperture did the work on October 2nd, 2024, was different than the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of
Oh.
2022,
Was
the
it?
date where you went through to see if those two vehicles aligned. Is that correct?
Was
The cameras
it?
are different.
That is correct.
And you know that the cameras are different, and you knew that as part of your analysis, correct?
Correct.
Oh.
Did you
Oh.
document the differences between the two cameras as part of any work performed at 1 Meadows?
Yes.
And did you measure any differences there might have been between the location of the newer Ring camera from the older one that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
No, what we did is use the current Ring camera in conjunction with the old Ring camera, and with the laser scans, we're able to, again, map the points onto the scene. That's why I showed you the report from the photogrammetry software that reported our error.
Sir, my question was just measurement, not your
Uh-huh.
process.
Oh.
Did you measure the difference
I don't believe
between
so.
where the old camera was and where the new camera was?
No, it was angled slightly more to the right, though.
How would you
So
know
his
that
photogrammetry
if
was
you
off.
were not retained on January 29th of 2022? How would you know where the
Oh.
original angles were?
Ah.
Because when you look at the first camera, the one on January 22nd, it's here. The new one is slightly over to the right.
Uh-huh.
That's an eyeball approximation analysis. That's not a measurement, correct?
Well, I don't know that we actually measured it, but we accounted for it and corrected for it. But you can see, for example, what the original one shows, for example, to the left-hand side compared to what the new one shows to the left-hand side, and it's angled more to the right.
Sir, you have experience with Ring cameras, correct?
I do.
And I think a lot of members of the public have experience with Ring cameras. You can move just the camera portion ever so slightly and change significantly the angle of the camera, can't you, what it captures? Just a small turn,
Potentially.
right? Even a millimeter turn can make a change. A 2 millimeter, a 1 inch can make a significant change with regard to what the camera captures, correct?
Good, sure.
So, did you measure whether the newer camera that was present on October 2nd, 2024 was installed to the left? And I'm talking measure to the right, to the top, or the bottom relative to the camera that was there on January 29th, 2022.
So
Yes or no?
we solved for
Yes
the
or
camera
no?
I'm
position.
asking if you measured, sir.
No, we didn't measure.
So let's talk about some other differences with regard to cameras and Ring cameras. Different Ring cameras can have different levels of distortion, correct?
Potentially.
Cameras, well, are you saying that all Ring cameras have the same level of distortion?
No, but again, they're mass produced. So you could have some that have the same exact distortion. You could have some that have different.
And you don't know the comparative distortion between what I'm just going to now refer to as the old Ring camera that was there January 29, 2022, and the camera that you saw on October 2024, which I'll refer to the new camera. You don't know the difference in the distortion between those cameras as you sit here today, do you?
So we know enough information that if the distortions had been different, our errors would have been too high. And so the fact that our errors are within acceptable, what's called an RMS error, we know that the distortions are similar enough to give us accurate measurements.
Sir, that is speculation. That is not data. That is not a measurement. You didn't measure the distortion, sir, did you? If the cameras, you didn't have the old camera to do it.
We didn't, but we had images from the old camera. And then when we get images from the new camera and solve those camera properties and then overlay data from the old images to the new images with the point clouds, if that distortion is too great, we will have too high of errors in our project, which is why I showed the error report from the photogrammetry process to show that we have checked for that and documented that our errors are in acceptable range so that we have confidence in our results.
You do not have information from the manufacturer of Ring. You didn't present it, and you don't have it as to what is the acceptable level of distortion for the analysis that you did, do you, sir?
The
You have
photogrammetry,
that from Ring.
and I don't have it from Ring, but I
Thank
need
you.
it from Ring.
So now let's go to, if cameras have different levels of distortion, that would change the analysis in reconciling the difference between their angles. That's a pretty straightforward proposition, sir, wouldn't it?
So it depends on how much difference it is, but we have accounted for that.
With which model of the Ring camera was present at One Meadows on January 29, 2022? Which model?
I don't know. I'd have to go look through the data.
Do you believe I'm not going to take up the time to have you look, but do you really believe you've got the model of the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
I don't know. I
You
need to
didn't
look
present
through
it in your direct testimony, did you, sir?
I did not.
So do you have the model of the Ring camera that was present at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
No.
So you don't have even the model for either one of them.
Nope, but we have videos from both of them and scans of the scene.
So now let's talk about another aspect of Ring cameras. They have mechanisms, as I was talking about earlier, that allow the user to adjust the camera angle, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether there was a difference in the camera angle between the two cameras?
Yes, as we already discussed, there was a slight difference in the
But
angle.
you don't have a measurement of that, right, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
But we accounted for it.
So wouldn't a difference in models of Ring cameras be relevant at all to your analysis of trying to reconcile any differences between them?
So if you have video from both of them and you have laser scans with three-dimensional geometry of the scene, you can go in and it's called a reverse camera analysis and solve for the distortion properties. The scans give you the real world dimensions. So once you know the real world dimensions, you can then go in, you can go in and then solve for the camera lens properties based upon the real world distortions. So for example, if there's a little bit of bending at the end, the laser scan data will show that, and you can correct for that, knowing information about the laser scanner.
I'll ask the
laser
question.
scan data.
I'm sorry, I thought you finished, sir. I'm going to ask the question again because it's a narrow question. Wouldn't knowing the difference in the models be relevant? That's all I'm asking. Wouldn't it be relevant to your analysis of reconciling the differences to them? Wouldn't
No.
it be relevant?
No.
So you think the different models are irrelevant to any process you occasioned at one? It's irrelevant.
So the analysis of the video itself is more important than the models?
I'm not asking if it's more important. I'm just asking, would it be relevant?
No, I don't believe it'd be relevant.
Now let's go to another aspect of the cameras. Are key parameters in a camera that the software needs to know focal length?
It is?
Is imaging size something that is an important parameter in a camera?
Yes,
Are sampling characteristics an important parameter in cameras?
can be.
is it the principal point? You understand that concept, sir? Is that an important parameter in a camera?
Define how you're using principal point.
Sure. A principal point of an image is the point where a camera's direct line of sight, called, as you may know, the optical axis, intersects the image plane. Does that
Gotcha,
sound
yes.
familiar?
Mhm.
So isn't that the image's mathematical center, the principal point?
More or less, yes.
And for high accuracy photogrammetric work, it's important to know if the lens is mounted centered over the image sensor due to the small manufacturing variances, correct?
Could be important.
And if the principal point is the center of the image.
Okay.
That's relevant. So doesn't that affect the mathematical calculation of the light ray geometry?
It could.
So the variance in manufacturing between cameras is a known issue. Do you agree?
I do.
There's small manufacturing variances that affect one of the key components of the fundamental parameters of the camera, namely the principal point, right?
Correct.
Did you perform the camera calibration of the camera in place in October of 2024?
Yes. So within photogrammetry, we calibrated the photogrammetric analysis to the camera.
Did you address the principal point in that calibration? Do you have documentation that you addressed that important factor, the principal point?
So the checking of the
Yes or
RMS
no?
error
Yes or
in
no?
the software takes into account, sums up all the potential errors in the measurements, which would include that.
Sir, you know the importance of all of these topics because the output of all the work Aperture did at One Meadows, almost all of it, springs from that camera, correct?
It starts there.
Okay, it starts there. And if the starting point is wrong, then where you go from the starting point is going to be at least potentially wrong, correct?
Potentially.
Would you agree that Ring cameras have a swiveling mechanism so that the user can adjust the camera angle?
Some do.
Do you know whether the camera that was in existence on January 29, 2022 had a swiveling mechanism?
I believe it did.
Believe, do you know?
I do not know for a fact, but
You-
those style of Ring cameras on the surveillance
Ah.
have adjustability that includes angle.
But you don't know whether the camera that was there, the specific camera on January 29, 2022, had a swiveling mechanism or not, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether the camera that you saw in October of 2024 had a swiveling mechanism on it?
It did.
And where did you document the fact that it had a swiveling mechanism?
I think we have photos of the camera.
Did you document it in writing, and did you document the tolerance of the swiveling mechanism?
No.
Let's go to, and again, all of the camera, this camera that you use is the starting point for your laser scan and photogrammetry process, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's go to another topic.
Yeah.
On your direct testimony,
Let's
as
go
I
another
recall, you stated
fucking
essentially
list.
from various information that you lined up in the video, and we're talking about the lining up of the Lexus with the Traverse. And this is at One Meadows. And so, as I understand what you did, sir, is you took what are called point clouds, 3D images, created them for the Lexus. You took created 3D images, synonym point clouds of the Traverse, and then you attempted to line them up to determine, among other things, whether they would align sufficient so that the Lexus could line up and potentially hit the Traverse such that the tail light of the Lexus could be broken. Was that at least part of your analysis?
That was part. There was more.
So you showed a slide, a few slides, and with your honor's permission, what I'd like to do is to start with slide 90.
Right? Do you have any problem with Dr. Welcher keeping his printed copy that he was using?
I have no problem with the printed copy, your honor.
So, I'm sorry, what slide again?
90.
I bet you it's the one where they meet.
Tiny.
Can you see the?
Yes. Yeah.
Does that slide, as part of your presentation, depict a view from the top of the Lexus on the right and the Chevy Traverse
He's
on the
he's
left?
going to go the same thing I
And
said.
is that depicting contact between the two vehicles?
It is.
Now let's zero in a closer look, and that is a contact point. Am I correct?
Uh-huh.
Correct. I mean, there's multiple points. There's more than one.
Points, but it shows more clearly the contact between the two vehicles. Now, if we could. The next, and that is number 91, Mr. Wolf. So, Your Honor, 91. I think these are just going to go in order for a few, and I'll keep
Yeah.
announcing them. So,
It was
this
the
is
next one.
91, same vehicles, just a different viewpoint. Is that correct, Dr. Welcher?
Correct. This and the next
I
slide.
just want to stay
I know.
with this one. I
Hold
just
on a
asked the
second.
question, does it show the contact?
So go ahead and answer now.
This slide and all the other slides, we're trying to show the angle of contact, but because it's two-dimensional image, you're losing some perspective. For example, here you're seeing the chrome piece on Mr. O'Keefe's Chevrolet, which is on the right.
Yeah, well, you took a
You're seeing
360.
it obviously behind where the Lexus is.
You've got a
So
3D image.
we were trying to show it at a whole bunch of different angles to try and illustrate the degree of closeness or lack thereof.
All right. So
Thank you.
is it correct that on your direct examination, you said in sum and substance, we looked at the degree of overlap and there's only about a 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap between the vehicles? Is that what you recall saying on direct?
That is correct.
And that you stated that that supposed 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap was insufficient to cause the taillight of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet. You recall saying that?
That's correct.
Now, I would like you to look at that. This is from your slide presentation. Is that not showing contact between the two vehicles?
Oh, it absolutely is not. What you're seeing is a portion of the vehicle that is behind the area. Keep in mind the angle, the Lexus is angled off to the left. So the area that you see here is
The center
actually,
of the car.
in this case, in front of where the
Hit
tail
where
light
the
is.
Toyota
This is
badge
why we
is.
tried showing it from a whole bunch of different angles, because when you try and take a two-dimensional image and look at it, you see stuff in the background. So and again, this is why in the computer, we overlaid them, looked at the measurements in the computer.
You
where you don't
3D
have this,
scanned them.
we have the three-dimensional measurements, and it does not hit.
Where did you show in your slide presentation what you just said, that it doesn't show in overlap?
So
Where?
it shows a contact. It definitely contacted, I'm sorry, Mr. Porter, down below here. It does not show a contact here. So to answer your question, all the next slides were our attempt to do that. So all the next slides is your answer.
We're going to go to those next slides. So you're, just to be clear, you're saying that that depiction does not show any contact between the taillight of the Lexus and the Chevy Traverse.
So the upper taillight, just to be clear, because the lower taillight is much closer.
Well, it's not only much
It's
closer,
a
it's in
reflector.
contact, isn't it, sir?
I like.
It's very close. It's probably within an inch of being in contact.
Oh, so you state that even the lower part of the taillight is not making contact?
So again, maybe there's a photo we could show or a scan. That is on the rear of the vehicle, and it contacts on the corner, which is just around, so maybe like an inch or so in front of it on the corner.
I'm just going with what
It
you
just
presented in
changes
your
it.
slide
Well, let's go to the
presentation.
next slides, and then
Sir,
we
I
can
will
see it.
determine which slides we go to
Yeah.
on my questioning.
I'm just hoping
So
to
now
answer your
let's
question.
go to Mr. Wolf, the next slide.
There we go.
In your presentation, my question is zeroing in. Are you saying that that slide does not show contact between the tail light of Ms. Reed's Lexus and any part of the Chevy Traverse?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what it shows. You can see a little better here. Again, we tried all these different angles, which is why all these slides are in there. But you can see some of the geometry of the light, this structure. And again, remember I said the Chevy.
That actual tail light, that's actually been photoshopped because it pokes out to the right hand side of the vehicle a shit ton. And where it hits, it's right under the Toyota badge. Oh, the badge
Kind of
the
curves
Chevy
in
Immerse.
as it goes up a little bit.
Let's go to the next slide. 40, yes, please.
This guy is a tosser. Tosser. That reminds me of a song.
That's
Remember
exactly-
Flipper? They called him
No,
Flipper.
it's not a slide.
Flipper. Faster than lightning.
So, Mr. Alessi, is this
Hello?
exhibit number 41 or is this from the PowerPoint?
Hello.
Because-
Slide, please. Slide.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm putting this up because I want to show an actual photograph of that taillight. And I would like you, sir, to focus on the quarter panel taillight in each. Do you see a jutting
Yeah, look how
out
far.
of
Look
the
how
quarter
far it
panel
pokes out.
taillight in that photo? Do you see it jut out?
So I don't know if you and I are talking the same thing. There are little fins here.
Correct.
Oh my God.
Now, what I'd like to do is to go back to the depiction we were just looking at. And that depiction doesn't show
No.
the jutting out.
No, it
does
doesn't.
No, it does.
Oh,
Those are actually more on the side of the vehicle. You can't see them in this image.
Correct. You
But-
can't see that.
Hold on a second. I wasn't finished. But
Sir.
they are 100% there. We actually did special hand scans with a hand scanner of the taillight to put it back on to the vehicle.
You say they're 100% there, but you can't see it in that depiction, can you? The jutting out that you could see in the two-dimensional one we just saw. You can't see it.
I can't see who's behind that wall because it's being blocked by something. I can't see on the side of that taillight because it's on the side I can't see. It's being blocked.
Sir, my question is simple. You cannot see the jutting out of the taillight in this depiction, can you?
Correct.
Okay, now let's go on to the next question in this topic. You could have easily solved what you consider to be the issues you had with trying to show it lining up, couldn't you, sir? You had an easy solution for
Mm.
that.
3D camera.
I took the
3D
best solution.
scanner.
I'm not sure what
You
you're
had
referring to.
3D images, correct?
I did.
You could have shown and measured 3D images to get
See?
almost the exact
I am
contact
not
points
dumb.
and almost the exact dimensions if you had just used the 3D images
Yeah.
that you had available to you. Isn't that correct?
That's exactly what we did. When I went through the video analysis, I showed you how we overlaid the point clouds, the 3D scans on top of each vehicle.
No,
So we
you
took the-
told
I'm
us
sorry,
it was
let
a
me-
two
we took the
Sir,
dimensional
please
vehicles-
don't interrupt.
Hold on.
Your Honor, he keeps referencing my hand and saying I'm doing something when I'm not. And I think that's distracting to the jury. I'm not interrupting him.
Hold on. Let the witness answer the
I
question.
am. I'm just holding my hand like this, Your Honor. He keeps saying that I'm doing
Mr.
something.
Leslie, please.
All right.
Go ahead, finish the answer, Doctor.
Again, in the photogrammetric analysis, I showed the video. I showed how we overlaid the point cloud on top of the video. That proves that the way we solved it, correct camera characteristics matches. Otherwise, that would be distorted. We overlaid the scans of the Lexus into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid the scans of the scene into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid all that stuff into the analysis. We did exactly what you're suggesting.
You
You could have
3D
easily
scanned it.
addressed this issue by the following. If you really believe there was no contact or not sufficient contact, you could have produced a graphic that shows a gap between the two vehicles. A graphic, couldn't you? That's not a graphic.
What is that?
Sir, I get to ask the questions and you are to answer them subject to the judge's ruling. So my question is, couldn't you have created a graphic that
That's-
would have better shown the issue that you are creating or talking about today? That's my question. Couldn't you have created a graphic?
We did. We created a whole bunch of graphics.
You called what we just
That's
saw
not
a
a
graphic?
Yes.
Well,
For
if there's a
for
gap,
an
why isn't
engineer?
there then something that shows a clear gap?
Because when you have the angulation of the vehicles, you
Ah.
have perspective. When you're looking at it, even if you do a top down, you see everything projected onto a single flat plane. So you can't tell the height of things. So when you see
you
things
listening?
in this dimension,
Are you
can't
listening?
necessarily see depth of things. So you lose in two-dimensional images, you lose one dimension depending on which way you're looking. That's why I showed it from all these different angles to try and show exactly what you're saying. We had graphics to do.
Sir, you 3D fucking scanned it. Shut up. Listen. Fuck.
that.
3D images
Ah.
allow you to show perspectives for 360 degrees, correct?
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
So none of what you presented in your slideshow
Oh,
shows
hello.
the
Sorry, I was
contact
doing a.
points from 360 degrees, does it?
I don't understand your question. Are you asking if I showed it at every
Yes,
single, I went through 360 slides
Oh, I
that showed it at every single degree?
I missed. Sorry. I was excuse me. I was making something. I'll show you. Oh Lord. This guy, I just want to get a bullet. Fuck's sake. Where is it? KKK. No, not not KKK, but you know. Where is it? But. Oh, come on. Oh, there it is. There you go. Yeah, okay. That's what I do. Sorry. Right. Chat. Get off. And. Oh. How are you, Mr. Udhef? This dude is so pompous. Your Honor, he's been mean to me. You were talking about fuckwit, weren't you? Yeah. You saw me lean in for the kill. Well, I haven't had to demonetize this video, so I've been better behaved. But yesterday was nearly as bad as who was the one that I went off on their cross. Oh shit, I can't even remember who it was. I went nuts. I had a I don't know, what did I call it? A rage. I had a rage stream. It was funny. I can't even remember who it was that testified.
Sir, let's move on. I think I've made the point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to strike the comment, Mr. Leslie.
Dr. Welcher, let's go to the next topic
Is that too fast for everyone, or
and keep with these two depictions.
yeah, concentrate? Is his face?
Are these two images point clouds or 3D images? Are these two,
Those are one and the same thing. Yes.
I would use them as synonym. Which term of the two do you want to use? Point cloud or 3D images?
Both are fine. It's a 3D image composed of points, which
Okay, so let's just call 3D
Uh-huh.
images so we can do this more quickly. The Lexus and the Chevy Traverse that are depicted there are both 3D images of those vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And Aperture created the 3D images, correct?
Correct.
Sir, did you do these scans and did you personally create these images?
No, one of the assistants at Aperture did.
So you're speaking
That's
about
the
what somebody else
shittiest fucking
did.
3D
at Aperture.
scan.
They were doing it at my direction. And for example, the Lexus scan, I showed the photographs. You can see the gentleman that works at Aperture, Mike Morelli, was scanning them for me while I was doing the rest of the inspection. And then the hand scanning of the rear taillight was done by another engineer. I was out there with him doing it, taking measurements. And then same thing with the Chevy Traverse.
My question is, you didn't do the creation of these 3D images, did you?
The individual images, no.
All right, so let's go to these individual images. These are 3D images. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Let's look at the taillight.
Okay.
That's not a 3D image. That's a Photoshop, isn't it?
Nope.
So it's your
Nope.
testimony that that taillight is a 3D image.
That absolutely is a 3D image. The way you can tell is when you get up near the chrome, because lasers don't like shiny objects, you start to get a scatter. So see all these dots here? If that was a photo, you wouldn't have these dots.
Let's go to the Chevy Traverse. Is there,
Look at that.
Mr. Woke,
That's-
zero in on the content? Yeah. There's grain on that taillight, in the taillight. That's a 3D image of a taillight, isn't it, sir?
They're both 3D images.
Well, I just want to stay with one. That taillight is a 3D image, and one of the ways you can tell is it's got all that grainy material on it, correct?
Correct.
Now let's go back, Mr. Woke, to the Lexus.
Oh, no, grading material.
Let's now go to the bumper.
But do you want me to explain the difference?
No,
Okay.
thank you. I would like to go to the bumper. Do you see any the predominance of any grainy image on the bumper?
There's a little bit. So for example, when you get near edges, it has a hard time with edges.
I'm
So
sorry, the bumper cover.
right.
See the bumper cover up above?
This whole thing is the bumper cover. That's the step pad. That's the rear body panel or the rear deck lid.
I'm talking about the step pad, sir.
Mhm.
Just the step pad of the bumper?
Are you
No,
asking about
I
just
agree.
from here to here?
Correct. The bumper step
Can we
pad.
zoom in on it?
Pardon me?
Can we zoom in on it?
Sure. Do you see it?
Yeah, I see graininess.
Oh, fuck off.
Let's go over to.
Right in here. You can see it all through here. You see it through here.
I'm talking about the step pad, not the entire bumper. I'm just talking about the step pad.
Right. So you're zooming in on the bumper.
Right.
The step pad is this structure up here.
We're going to
That's
move up.
what
It
he's...
takes a while.
Oh, fucking hell.
So your testimony is that is a
Can you zoom in more?
that's you would like it zoomed in?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Your testimony is that is a 3D image, not a Photoshop step bumper cover. Is that correct?
So we have mapped the color over the 3D scans. We used two separate scanners. If you recall,
So
when I
you
got
can't
out to Miss
even
Reed's
do this,
vehicle, that taillight is
Fucking
gone.
answer.
So we had to replace the taillight.
Talking about the bumper cover, not the tail light.
Okay, I'm explaining the process.
I just asked you
No.
about the bumper cover, not the
Don't want
process.
the process.
Focus your answer on the bumper.
That is a laser scan.
Okay, so your
That's a 3D
testimony
model.
is the step part of the bumper cover is a 3D image from a laser scan, and it's not a Photoshop. That's your testimony.
Absolutely.
And you didn't perform the work for the 3D that you claim the bumper step up is. You didn't do that work to produce that depiction, did you, sir? Somebody
So-
else in your firm did it.
So this is all done at my direction. The engineers that work for me, so I'm telling them what to do. I'm not the one punching the keys.
That's
I'm
my
saying,
question.
I need you to do this, this, and this.
Ah, look.
Use
So you mean he's smarter? He's actually a pharmacist as well, but it's been inactive since the 80s. So he was honest enough to put that in there that he was inactive. Oh, he's got another skill, but he hasn't claimed to need it.
The hand scanner, go scan the light. I need to put this back in because it was missing when we got to it. So no, I'm not punching the keys.
Okay, so
Okay, one over, please.
Oh my God. Righto. That's why you never renewed it. You're okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. Why are you even bringing up that he's a pharmacist? It's got nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. So you just went digging for dirt and assumed, made an assumption as to why he never renewed it. I love copy. He's not practicing as a pharmacist.
With regard to, no, we don't need to back up, Mr. Wolf. Isn't it correct that 3D images allow for proper and most accurate measurements as opposed to 2D images? Is that a correct general statement?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Okay, that's my question. So let's go to the next topic. Let's talk about hydraulics on the Lexus SUV. What type of hydraulic system does the Lexus SUV have?
Is he
So
supposed
it has
to
a
use
mechanism, I believe it's actually pneumatic. It's air-based system that raises it up and down.
Do you know what the name of that system is, sir?
No, not off the top of my head.
Do you know how it works
I do.
specifically?
Well, I mean, I know generally that there's a button on the interior where you can raise and lower the ride height.
And is that the extent of your knowledge of that system on the Lexus?
No, and again, I know when you park it, it'll drop down the ride height. When you adjust it for different roadway conditions, it'll change the ride height.
Do you know what the height tolerances are? In other words, the lowest to the highest?
I believe it's around 1.25 inches. At one point in time, I measured it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
So you believe it's 1.25 inches up and 1.25 inches down? How do you apply the 1.25 inches?
I recall the total being like 1.25 inches, but I measured it at one point in time. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Would you be surprised to hear that the tolerance is 5 inches on that vehicle?
I would be surprised. I don't recall it being that much, but I would need to double check.
Assume
Mhm.
that the manual, as well as other informations,
Oh, is he
support
talking
that the
about
tolerance is
muzzle?
5 inches and that specifically the vehicle can be raised 3
Yes.
inches high
Suspension
and it can be lowered 2
comes with
inches. That's
built-in
the
risers.
basis for the 5.
and
What was the
suspension?
suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus that you used for your accident reconstruction analysis out front at 34 Fairview between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. on January 29, 2022 to determine whether it was possible for the spoiler on the back of the Lexus to make contact with the eye of Mr. O'Keefe? If it was even possible, what did you use for a measurement of the suspension?
Matched the measurements from when the vehicle was tested, I believe on February 1st at the Canton
What
Police
about the
Department.
curb?
What match did you make?
So we aligned the bottom of the taillight, actually the sheet metal right below the taillight. So we adjusted the height of the Lexus to match that.
Did you in any place document what level the Lexus was at the time of any testing, meaning the suspension? Did you document at all?
Yes.
The
Where?
automatic level raises. So once the car comes to a
Slide
stop,
107.
they automatically
slide
drop
107
down
as
so
well.
that you can get in and out easily. And then when it's fired up, they raise back up again.
And then if you could zoom in on the lower photograph, the gentleman with the blue shirt. Zoom in a little more, please. So if I may, we matched the bottom of the sheet metal here to photographs when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Sir, my question is, where did you document whether the suspension was at 0,
Mhm.
whether it was +3 or -2? Where did you document that?
Right here.
And what are the numbers of the documentation of that?
I don't know. We were matching the photos. So I don't care what the numbers are. I care that the height is the same.
Okay, so I just heard you say, if I heard correctly, you don't care what the suspension is at. Is that your testimony?
No, I don't care what the suspension number is as long as the heights match.
I understand. So what was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus at 5:07 a.m. on
Yeah.
January 29th,
Yeah.
2022, while at One Meadows and colliding with the Chevy Traverse? What was the suspension height then?
We assumed it was the same as when it was
You
at
assumed.
the Canton Police Department.
You don't
Exactly.
assume in
You
science.
assumed, but there's no measurement.
No.
Like was just on that depiction. There was no note that said, okay, we're doing this very important and inches sensitive measurements to see whether the taillight on the Lexus makes contact with the Traverse,
And
but
done
there's
a
no
measurement
measurement
each
and no
inch.
documentation of what the suspension height was at One Meadows, correct?
So we took the closest measurement in time to the Mun Meadows event, which is when it was at the Canton Police Department. That was the best information we had.
Well, that information isn't very good because the vehicle had to go from Canton to One Meadows. And when the vehicle drives, the way the suspension system works, it's automatic. When you go above 20 miles an hour, the suspension comes up. And when you turn off the vehicle, it goes down so you can get out easier. So it would be improper to assume that the suspension at One Meadows would be the same at another location.
That's the only, sorry,
Was there objection? No. Go ahead and answer, please.
that's the extent of the information we had. We had it when it was at the Canton Police Department.
That's-
We matched that height.
Sorry, sir. I understand.
But actually, you brought up a good point. It's going so slow when it's backing up that it wouldn't raise up. So the static position when it's backing up would be the static position.
But it wouldn't be going in back up from the Canton Police Department to One Meadows. It wouldn't be going back up when it's going in other locations, sir, right? It would be driving forward. It had to get from point A to point B.
Right, but as you pointed out, when you turn it off, it drops down.
Yeah.
And then you turn it on, and then once you go above 20, as you indicated, it goes up. But when she's backing up, she never goes more than a couple miles an hour. So it's going to be at the same position
I thought you
as
said
when you
you were
start,
24
which is
miles
approximately the
an
same
hour.
position when it's off at the Canton Police Department a couple days later.
You don't make
Do
sense.
you know whether the suspension system locks when there is testing of the infotainment system?
Whether the suspensions, I don't know.
Okay, let's go on to the next topic. You're aware of the vehicle control, excuse me, Your Honor.
He didn't even use a Toyota Jetstream.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to go, I'm changing topics to go back now to Fairview, 34 Fairview. You don't know what the suspension ride height at 34 Fairview was on January 29th of 2022, do you?
Correct.
So therefore, if you don't know what the suspension height was, because of course you weren't there on January 29, 2022, therefore there's no measuring stick, as you say, you assert that you would have accounted for it in your methodology. So you don't have the suspension height for that key day, do you, sir?
I only have it 2 days later.
All right. So when you talk about key measurements, such as the spoiler on the top of the Lexus and the inches that are important as to whether things such as, is there a contact with the front eye, you don't have some data that would be relevant to that calculation, the some data being the suspension height of the Lexus at that time, do you?
So we have some data. We have photos of the vehicle 2 days later. We don't know the exact height outside because, as you alluded to, we don't have a measurement on January 29th of it. We do have it 2 days later. That's the source of the measurement.
know that you are.
You don't have the suspension height or the setting of the suspension of the Lexus that existed on January 29th, 2022, do you?
Correct.
Now let's go on to another topic.
Yes.
So it looks like 93,
Within the
93.
34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022, I'm not going to go over them, but you asserted various measurements, height, width, with regard to the Lexus, correct? It wasn't just for the spoiler at the top, correct?
Correct.
And for all those other measurements
I
that you
need-
talked about, you did not.
I don't know how. I've tried. I've downloaded Stream Elements and I've worked out there's a couple of bots there, but I don't know how to get them onto. I'm trying. I don't know how to get them into the stream, into the chat. I don't know. Because you can put in like exclamation point something or other and it will do something in chat. And I can't. I've got them on the computer, but I can't connect the two. I don't know how to do it. I'm too dumb.
not have the
If
suspension
you've
height
got
and
any
suspension
suggestions to
setting
me,
of
you're
the
welcome.
hydraulic system of the Lexus on January 29th, 2022, did you?
So the hydraulic's only going to affect the vertical dimensions. It doesn't change anything left to right. It doesn't change anything down the side of the car.
Understood.
No, but it affects exactly where the impact point would be on John O'Keefe. That is important.
But for the measurements that are affected by vertical,
Mhm.
you didn't have the suspension height of the Lexus system on January 29th, 2022.
Again,
And-
I only
and
know what
Joe-
it is 2 days later.
So now let's go on to vehicle control history, sir. Do you understand what I mean by vehicle control history? Of
This
VCH?
text stream information.
Are you aware of what is called the Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles?
Of course, we showed it on my slides.
And
you know how to
the
set them up?
Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles is sometimes referred to as
Ah.
the black box.
No, you're mixing up two things. So the Bosch is like the tools.
It's a question, sir.
Yes, that's exactly. See, he's arguing. So, unless he's onto it, he didn't use the Toyota TechStream data because you have to be a licensed Toyota technician to access it. So he plugged a simulation, which is with a Bosch thing, and he put the data in himself. And the actual Toyota Tech, the proper thing, measures it dates it, it times it, and it measures it to the 0.1 of a meter of travel as well. And he didn't address any of that.
Can you answer that with a yes or no?
Is the Bosch crash data retrieval system the black box on Lexus vehicles?
No.
I just wanted to repeat it. So
I didn't hear what the objection. You objected?
I'd like to be able to finish these answers.
So the question was just asked. Can you answer that question?
No, it doesn't make sense.
It does make
Next
sense.
question, Mr. Wilson.
I'm going to ask the question, sir. The Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles, you're familiar with that? Are you familiar with it?
There is no such thing in the Lexus.
That's right.
A Lexus does not have a Bosch crash data retrieval system?
No.
Have you read the report of Trooper Paul,
Yes.
the May 2023? Does that report not use the exact words Bosch? Let me ask this. Do you recall?
Sustained. The objection is sustained.
Let's go to the VCH system in Lexuses. Is the VCH system intended by Lexus as a diagnostic tool for their technicians, Lexus technicians, to assist in vehicle repair and maintenance? Is that what that is?
Just, yeah,
That's their stated purpose.
Right. And
I think Alessi might have watched that video. What do you reckon? Because he did say at the end
is
of
a
it, I
synonym
hope he
for
sees this.
VCH tech stream is
Sort of. TechStream.
So, is Camp Shorty, is that like a stream? So she has a stream on a Friday that's called Camp Shorty, is that right? Every Friday? And you just do whatever you want to do, like it's a fun thing, or
Similar, like Bosch is the hardware and software to access the black box data. TechStream is the software to access, for example, the pre-collision system, the PCS system, and the VCH, which is the vehicle control history. So TechStream which does a lot of other stuff, but does access that information.
You just mentioned Bosch, didn't you, sir?
So Bosch is not in the Lexus. You use Bosch stuff sold by Bosch, Bosch software and hardware, and you walk up to the Lexus with all the Bosch
You
stuff
plug it
and
in.
plug it in and download the event data recorder, the EDR, the black box. That was my problem. There is no
Understood.
Bosch stuff in the Lexus.
I understand, sir. That was going to be the question that I was trying to get to, but you've explained it, so I don't have to answer the question. Let's go to the VCH database that you say the stated purpose is to assist technicians at Lexus in vehicle repair and maintenance.
So I didn't say that was a stated purpose. I'm saying that's what Lexus or Toyota says is a stated purpose. It's being used in litigation all the time. All I know is that's what Lexus and Toyota says. But again, it came about right when we started seeing all the sudden accelerations in the Toyota vehicles.
So my question is the VCH database specific to Toyota and Lexus vehicles?
So it's not a database, it's software.
Is the software specific to Lexus and Toyota? the
Those
VCH?
particular acronyms are, yes.
I want to move to another topic, and we are almost finished. We have just two more topics, sir. How common were VCH events when Miss Reed owned the Lexus?
In 2022,
Do you know the ownership period of Miss Reed with respect to the Lexus? Do you know how long she owned it?
I have that documentation off the top of my head.
Do you have an approximate?
No, I mean, it was a 2021 vehicle. Our accident's January 29, 2022. But I did get that information.
Do you know how many VCH events were associated with the Lexus of Miss Reed?
I did not count them, no. I have them all.
Do you
I was
have-
only focused on the ones around our time period.
Exactly. But do you have the number of events? Do you know how many there were?
I can get it for you.
How long would it take, sir?
3 minutes?
Why don't we come back to it?
Okay.
And we'll see if it's
How about I start this so that we don't have to wait for it to boot up? And then when we come back to it, it's ready to go. You
as
okay
long
with
as
that?
that's all you're looking at, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. And then put your head up, please, so I can finish these two
Please,
topics.
go ahead.
So how often were VCH events recorded on the Lexus before January 29th of 2022?
Man, I have to pull this data up.
Fair
to
enough. Fair enough.
answer that
I assume
question.
that's going to be in what you're also pulling up.
That's the goal here.
Would the number be about 15? Does that sound right to you?
Let's see. 1, 2.
Oh, that was a good coffee. I've actually asked Shorty to do a stream with me. I sent her an email a couple of weeks ago on parents actively choosing either partners or lovers or whatever over and above their children, whether they for whatever reason, yeah, how a parent could choose someone else over their child is beyond me. So, and she was keen on the idea, but I haven't heard back. So, no. Well, same here. She's been doing it a little bit longer than me, hasn't she? Like, because I've just clicked over the 12-month on my nose. And she her subs went up when all that drama went on with that dickhead. Adam, is it? I don't know. I don't do drama.
There's 18.
18. So there were your records show that there were 18 VCH events recorded on Miss Reed's Lexus, correct?
Before the subject one.
Right. Did you conclude that any of those events, other than the 1162-2, were a collision?
No.
Now let's go to.
At least you get
reverse
lots of
recorded
screen
events.
time when there's less
Can you
subs.
tell how many of those 18 events were reverse recorded events? And you know what I mean by reverse recorded events?
Yes.
The vehicle going in reverse? How
Right.
many of those events were the vehicle going in reverse?
And this is before.
4. Other than.
He asked
No,
you,
no,
is this before?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I would have to pull up the PCS file.
Can you start that and I can continue on with the questioning?
So the PCS file is I have a second laptop. That
Here's
has
what I'm going to
texturing.
do. That's not
Oh,
important for me
God.
to keep going and get through it.
Okay.
So let's just stay on the events, okay? Only
Yeah,
one
neither
of
do I.
all of those events, those 18,
I
are
couldn't.
you concluding
Is she-
that there was a collision?
Is she still friends with Ozzy, or did they have a falling out over that? And there was Auntie Deb in there too, wasn't there? Like, it was a big shit show. I remember clicking on once and just went, "Whoa, no." Mm.
Associated with them, correct? Just one.
All those 18 are before. The
I
collision
don't know
remember 19.
why.
No, I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, but for all the other events that are recorded, you're not, other than the January 29, 1162-2, you're not concluding that any of those were collisions, correct?
I didn't look at them. They were so far mileage away from everything.
But you're not concluding, even though they were so far away and you didn't look at them, you don't conclude from the information you have that any of them were a collision, correct?
Sustain.
Let's go to 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022 at One Meadows, the home of Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay.
There was a collision between Ms. Reed's 6,000-pound Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's approximately 4,500 Chevy Traverse. That's undisputed, correct? They collided, they made contact,
They touched.
right? But the actual collision at One Meadows did not register the recording of an event on the Lexus VCH system, did it?
Correct. Too minor.
So, however, you want this jury, sir, to conclude that the glancing blow that you contend occurred at 34 Fairview Road by the same 6,000-pound Lexus in contact with a mere 216-pound man did register an event on the Lexus, correct?
No, the impact didn't register the event. As I pointed out, the trigger was from when the accelerator pedal went to 30%. The tech stream does not register crashes at all. It registers excessive acceleration, excessive steering, excessive braking, things like that, things that would be part of the maintenance system. So the tech stream will never register an event, even if you hit a wall at 100 miles an hour necessarily. It'll cause fault codes and things like that. But that's not what it does. The trigger here was transitioning into reverse and then gunning the accelerator pedal in reverse. And so when it went from 30 up to 74% throttle, once it went over 30 in that transition, that's what triggered the tech stream. It had nothing to do with, and that's why I'm telling you, I don't know when in that event the impact occurred, because the tech stream doesn't tell you that.
Thank you. That
You're
is
welcome.
exactly my point. The test stream information doesn't tell you when a collision occurs, does it?
Correct.
That's all the questions I have at this time, Your Honor.
All right, why don't we take our morning recess?
And I think we've got enough just to catch. Yep, look at that. Redirect. Oh no, we have to listen to Brennan. I know, I might need a Valium. Yeah, no. I've got a Discord channel, but the drama that created. Yeah, I just didn't have the energy.
We can see it towards session.
I don't use it to its potential at all.
The redirect, Mr. Brennan?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brandon.
You were asking
I seen
questions.
this morning, but yes.
You were asking questions
You'll
about.
take one. What, Nolan? Blah, blah, blah. What was I offering? What would you like? Oh, Valium, yeah. Yeah, no worries. I've got spares.
The ring video from Melrose, which was John O'Keefe's home, and you were asked whether you're aware if the cameras had changed over time.
I don't know
Correct.
how.
The fact that the camera was replaced, does that any way affect your opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty about your conclusions relative to that touching between the cars?
Absolutely not. It would have shown up as increased error when we overlaid the point clouds onto the photos or the point clouds onto the video. If it was an error, it would have showed an error.
Do you have any concern whatsoever that any of the information from the scan is in any way tainted, compromised, or inadequate?
That would be very hard to do. You literally press a button and stand there and watch it, and the laser does its thing. So I have absolutely no reason to disbelieve it.
he's going to
Additionally, again, if it was messed up,
say no.
once you laid it over on top of the photograph, it would show the difference. So no, the data's fine.
Is there any evidence whatsoever that you've seen that any parts of your presentation were photoshopped?
No.
If he's going to say.
You were asked questions about the suspension of the motor vehicle of the defendant's Lexus. Do you have any information that the suspension at any point was changed?
No.
It doesn't need to be changed. It's automatic, dickhead.
Yesterday, you were asked a number of questions
was
about
sneaky.
formulas. You
That
took out your
was
calculator
sneaky.
and you were asked about different variables. Were those variables hypotheticals or were they related to this specific case?
So they seemed hypothetical. Again, you have to be careful when you're talking about failure forces on biomechanical things. For example, if you impact the hand with a, say, 1-inch narrow metal bar, that's a lot different than if you have a broad, say, plastic tail light
we
or
get
rear body
that.
panel.
Yeah.
So when you have
Not that.
distributed loads, you can take much more. I told you guys about sitting on the bed, like how much you sink in. That's an example of spreading your load out. When you spread the load out, you don't sink in as much.
Him on a bed.
The same thing with, forces on your body. If you take this pencil, I don't have to press very hard for it to pull in. But if I spread it out, I have to press much harder. So you have to look at the distribution of the load when you're talking about the failure. So when you look at the failure loads, it depends on what you're doing it with. If I hit you with a 5-pound 2x4 or a 5-pound pillow, they're both 5 pounds, but you'd much rather get hit by the pillow than the 2x4.
When
Thank you
you were
so
asked
much.
questions about communications, when you would have communications with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, did you ever use
I
encrypted?
mean, I had no idea when I started this. No idea. Do you know how I learned? Watching YouTube. That you literally can learn how to set up a YouTube channel on YouTube. Where else would you learn? So, and it's just a practice, and the more you do it, the more you get familiar with it, and everyone has their own different way of setting things up. There's a lot more to even just setting up a stream than you actually realize. A lot more. But yeah, you get there in the end, and it just everything like anything, it evolves, I suppose. I've got, like, Tanya bought me a Stream Deck, and it is amazing. I've always wanted one, and I have not had the time to literally sit down. I've loaded the data on. I haven't had time to set it up. Just you need time to play with it, familiarize yourself with it. So when you're on a stream, it'll just go boop. But the ones that you're talking about, she's got some bots in her stream, and they're chat bots. So they either have an alert or they're they either have a prompt saying, like and subscribe, blah blah blah, or if someone becomes a member, it automatically does some animation. You can have it set to that. If they type in a certain command, you can get them. And the reason for that is all of the YouTube algorithm it takes in. It actually doesn't pay much attention to me. It pays attention to you, and it takes in how many people watch, how long they watch for, the time that if they clicked on and clicked off, then obviously it's not interesting. What subjects that you watch, what topics you watch, how interactive you are, how many people made comments. Because at the end, it tells me all those statistics. How many were returning people? How many of those people were subscribers as to non-subscribers? What percentage difference? How many people viewed it? How much was the total hours in time that go to your watch time hours? Like, it tells you everything about you. So YouTube is focusing on you, and that's how they assess their algorithm as to putting it out. So any interaction with the stream, be it a chat, be it a super chat, be it whatever, even a like, all of those things add up, and that then pushes you out. That makes sense? It gives Jody all the social... Yeah. I wouldn't know what to do with them, darling. I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. I can't even get into the issue I have over here is because of my IP address. I can't get into a lot of county clerks to get access to documents, but I've managed to be able to get around it with Discord, which is, there's a channel on there called As the Gavel Drops, and they have everything. It's amazing. So, yeah. That's fine. You don't have to do anything, darling. I'm not here to make millions. I enjoy what I do. That's why I'm here.
Encrypted apps to secretly hide your communications, apps like Signal.
No, I don't have any of those.
So the form of the question, ask it differently.
When you were communicating with members of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, did you ever use encrypted apps like Signal to communicate?
I'm going to allow it.
No, I mean, I don't even know what that is.
Would you ever use an encrypted app so those communications couldn't be tracked?
No.
No,
Did you ever have
it's
any-
used between attorneys and clients because it adds an extra layer of confidentiality. That's why.
Using as a professional for doing that.
He's not an attorney.
You were asked about confirmation bias. You remember those questions?
I do.
Could I have slide 33 of your
I was
PowerPoint?
going to
please?
look that up. Confirmation bias.
Slide 33.
Oh, shit, I haven't uploaded yesterday's
A second.
transcript. Whoops. Confirmation bias is the tendency to search for...
33.
You could zoom that in, please.
Oh, I'll copy it.
A little larger so we can see it.
I cannot do it with one monitor.
You can't do it any closer than that.
No, not since I took down. Oh, hold on. There we go. Which part do you want me to zoom in?
Miss Gilman can zoom in for you.
Sorry? Which part?
Miss Gilman's going to do it for you.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
If you could zoom in, please. Okay. On shift position signal, going forward, then neutral and reverse. Does that data suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's strictly electronic data.
When we look over at the vehicle speed, can we go to the left a little bit? Down. Vehicle speed ending at 2361 miles per hour. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, again, these are direct readings from the vehicle. Again, that speed on this here, you have to correct for the slippage, which I do later on in the slide, but that is a direct reading from what the speedometer is seeing.
Acceleration at the end of that 10-second window, 74%. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
Oh, my
No,
God.
that's a direct reading of a sensor. That's objective information.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything, Mr. Lessie?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. This is what confirmation bias is. the tendency to search for, interpret, favour, and recall information in a way that confirms or supports one's prior beliefs or values. People display this bias when they select information that supports their views, ignoring contrary information, or when they interpret ambiguous evidence as supporting their existing attitudes. So to put up a sheet and say, is this confirmation bias? It's about more opinions. Oops.
You acknowledge that text stream data, what you've called a trigger, like was on that slide, does not tell you if a collision even occurred, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the topic
No worries,
of
sweetheart.
confirmation bias that you were just asked about in slide 33, am I correct that all of the questions that Attorney Brennan just asked you were about data on that slide, correct? All that's on that slide is data, correct?
How do you ask me more questions than just this slide?
But were the questions just about data?
Data.
On this slide, it was just about
They
data.
can't be.
Correct.
They can't
But
have an opinion.
confirmation bias is really aimed at opinions and conclusions and alternative
Man,
hypotheses.
I should have been
Isn't
an
that what
attorney.
confirmation bias gets at?
So generally, yes. Again, I started this case
I
with
was
the
just a question.
hypothesis,
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
with the hypothesis that the Lexus didn't contact Mr. O'Keefe. And so
I
I
like
start
this.
what's called the null hypothesis, that this didn't happen. And then I look at evidence to either include or exclude the null hypothesis. So theoretically, my confirmational bias starts
love it.
with a bias that it didn't happen.
Can you point to one document that shows that you analyzed whether there was no contact between the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe? Can you point to one document? Was there one document on your slide presentation that analyzed the null hypothesis, as you call it, there being no contact at all? Was there any slide in your direct testimony?
So remember what I said, we start with hypothesis, we get more data, we whittle down our hypothesis to the final answer. I mean, I had 130 slides. I suspect I bored some of these people to death already.
Yeah.
So I didn't include everything. There's thousands of photographs in here. There was a bunch of testing I did with the Lexus about backing, pedestrian detection that, removed certain hypotheses. So if I was able to eliminate a hypothesis, I didn't present it here.
Sir, my question is not about you.
All the slides show that, to answer your question.
Sir, my question is there any slide that says alternative hypothesis to whatever the label is, whatever the term, it says no contact between the Lexus vehicle and Mr. O'Keefe? Is there any document that you presented to the jury that shows that?
Any document where those words are written on it?
Correct.
No.
And to work through hypotheses, different ones, and to see whether there's confirmation bias, have you heard of scientists refer that as showing your math, so to speak, in working through hypotheses, documenting each hypothesis and how and why you rejected them? Have you heard of that term in the scientific world, show your math with confirmation biases and alternative hypotheses? Just a question. Have you heard the idiom, the phrase, show your math?
Your question is, have I ever heard show your math, period?
Associated with the application of various hypotheses to avoid confirmation bias. Have you heard of that term used in that conjunction?
Not really in that
Okay.
context. It's probably, I understand where you're going with it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
No further questions.
Dr. Welcher, you are all set.
Oh my God, thank you.
I
Give me a
think what he's pointing out is that he just focused on that one aspect of what occurred, like what he believed occurred with the vehicle and John. There was no other example shown where when ARCA did their initial testing, they noticed that there was glass on the bumper and there was glass found around. So they thought, well, maybe the glass could have been thrown at the tail light. Let's recreate that and see if that creates some of the same results. That's showing an alternative hypothesis and seeing if that can bring about the same results. So that's showing that there wasn't confirmation bias. Does that make sense? It's the same as Proctor. He honed in on one person, did not investigate anybody else. He had his thought and he went with it. Love that. What? Oh, the sniff. It's funny as, isn't it? I can't believe that's actually my computer tech guy. he's funny. He built this computer for me, and I had that night when my motherboard went on me, and he came to the door, rang the doorbell, and sniffed it. I didn't realize it until the next day when I went through the video. Hey, Missy. Yeah. There was like an hour of chat and then nothing. And 3 messages and still nothing. Yes, I did. I've put it on. There we go. I made a buffer zone. Take it off because it's an overlay. Where is it? Oh, lost it. The fuck did I put it? Oh, idiot. Right. So the time is what's that? 11:30 over there. No, it's not lunchtime for Beverly. So that's Judson done. Yay! Fuck for that. I wonder if the state will rest. Ooh. Well, there'll be a motion for mistrial first. Let's see.
To pack up, and I will be out here. Oh, I am plugged in. Yes, thank you.
Oh.
Excuse me? Yes, you can read it.
Teresa, you're not. Well, actually, I could get it out of my. Copy. Oh, I sent it to Tad. You know that link I sent you with the guy that was doing the experiments with the Lexus and stuff. I think Alessi must have watched it because he pretty much went through all of that. And this guy was just as annoying as usual. That's all. You didn't miss anything.
Thank you.
Oh, L.
So I thought, could I run him over? Did he try to get me as I was leaving and I didn't know it? I mean, I've always had music blasting. It's snowing. I got the wipers going, the heater blasting. Did he come and hit the back of my car and I hit him in the knee and he's drunk and passed out and asphyxiated or something? And then when I hired David Yannetti, I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if,
Yes.
I don't know, if I ran his foot over?
So that's not a confession. That is her trying to work out what happened. And she speaks to Yannetti about it. And she says, you know, what would happen if I did do that? And he says to her, well, you would be liable. Simple as that. He is giving her advice.
Or what if I clipped him in the knee? and he passed out or went to care for himself and threw up or passed out, and David said, yeah, then you have some element of culpability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, everything that guy said on that video, unless he asked this guy, the expert.
So the 207?
Do you think they'll rest, or are they calling someone else?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth rests.
Hey! Woo! Fuck yeah!
Does counsel want to see me?
Yeah, mistrial.
Okay, so should we send the jury out or should?
Probably, yes.
So jurors, so everybody can sit. So jurors, the Commonwealth rests. That means that the Commonwealth's case.
Now the big boys get to come and play.
For your consideration. So I need
It's a
to
good bit.
meet with the lawyers for a few minutes, so we're going to send you back out. I can tell you that it now appears that we're at least on schedule, if not a little ahead of schedule. So we'll send you back out for a short recess.
Yeah, he fluffed with the bullshit answers, the usual.
Right. Can counsel come to sidebar, please?
Is it 23 or 22 today? 23. Okay. Because I'm a day behind. Haven't set up today's. I pooper scooped. I got my groceries delivered. I leaf blowed, and then I got painted. Lots and lots of paint. So I went and laid down. The day just goes so fast. It's ridiculous. So we'll just go to the bit where she says motion denied. But always ask for a dismissal when the state rests. Is it dismissal? Oh. Day 23. Oh, I'm excited now. The defense is turn. Woohoo. Who do you think they're first? Do you think they'll come straight in with the big guns with the ARCA boys? I hope so. Whilst that data is fresh in the jury's mind. I think we're up to date. Yeah, we are. I cannot L anymore. Day 23. Date. Oh, no. What? Fuck. Yes, it will. First. Witness number. $38. Judson Welcher. State rests. So, that being said, I think there's probably 2 weeks now before verdict watch. I'm guessing. I don't think the defence will call as many. Well, I don't know, but last time they only called 6. I know they've got a shitload more on there, but we can go through them. I have the list here. Oh, geez, my shoulders are sore. Did we have any more dipshit points that wanted to be allocated to Judson before I forget? Come on. So I need to go through these and work out how many people. So the state didn't call Erin or Paul O'Keefe or Stephen Seraph. That was the first person, the first responder whose dash cam we watched. Stephen Mullaney, Anthony Flametti, Matthew Kelly. They're all first responders. Francis Walsh. They didn't call Gregory Woodbury, another paramedic. They didn't call Michael Lank, the first officer on the scene. They didn't call Sergeant Good. Catherine Camerano, actually, she refused, apparently, which was Michael Camerano's wife. Kurt Roberts, which was Kerry Roberts' husband. Rebecca Strayers, bartender at the Waterfall. Nicholas Colicasa. I can't say it. Him and his wife.
Thank you.
Chris Albert, Julie Albert, Nicole Albert, Ryan Albert, Brian Higgins, Caitlin Albert, Tristan Norris, Julie Nagel, Terry Coon. Now, Terry Coon is the she's the forensic scientist that did the swabs on John's clothes for the dog DNA, which came back negative, but they were taken by Proctor. So that's who Hank will use. He'll call Crosby and her as his rebuttal witnesses. You mark my words. Richard Jantuno. He was the guy that drove Ryan Nagel's car. Alison McCabe, Colin Albert. Didn't call any of those. The Sullivan girls. Marietta and Laura. Matthew McCabe. And see, the beauty of Hank's witness calls, that jury, they don't remember Jennifer McCabe now. She's gone. Like, she's way, way back. Brian Higgins, didn't call him, so I should be saying who the state will call, or who I think will be called from this list. Sheesh, my back. Ooh. No, I don't think they'll call any of those. Maybe Stephen Seraph. The first. PD. I think they should call Leg. Brian Albert. I'd be ringing Caitlin Albert too. Julie Nagel.
Court is in session. Please be seated.
Hear ye! Hear ye!
Hi, so jurors, we all. It happens several times a day, doesn't it? So we don't want to waste waste anybody's time. I know we've spent a lot of time at sidebar, and we've had times that we've kept you in the
Oh, no.
room because we've been trying to sort through everything, trying to make this trial as efficient as possible, but also honoring and respecting all the hard work of the lawyers that's gone into preparing this trial. So sometimes I do understand that it's frustrating for you. But today we were able to spend some time this morning. I know we kept you in there almost half an hour, and we've just spent some time now. So I can tell you that we are ahead of schedule right now.
Just going to send them home.
I still need to talk to the lawyers about something tomorrow morning. So we're going to send you home now and have you come back tomorrow morning at 9:30, because today I know we kept you until 9:30, and it doesn't make any sense where I already know I need to talk to the lawyers tomorrow morning to have you here for a 9 o'clock start. So tomorrow will be a full day, and we'll have you here ready to start at 9:30. Okay, so those same cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. And also, please continue to be careful with your social media use. So we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Rise to the jury.
They finished with the... I reckon they'll come back.
All right, so Ms. Little, if you can get me whatever you're going to get me within the next hour, so that would be great. And I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 9
Thank you.
o'clock.
That's it. An hour and a half. Took me longer than that to put my makeup on. Oh. All right. I don't think they'll call your mechanic back, but they will definitely call Proctor. Most definitely. Where is it? Nicholas Barris. Definitely him, especially now they've got that testimony from Judson Welcher, because Nicholas Barris was the one that was the Dighton PD and had nothing to lose and nothing to gain for testifying about her tail light. He was with the tow truck. So he's definitely coming in. Michael Proctor. Who else? I would be calling Tully. Just my prediction. Who else? I would be calling Joe Paul as well, Trooper Joe. Just basically to say, well, hang on, you came up with this this analysis and you did this crash reconstruction. Why weren't you called this time? Was your answer not good enough? Why would they hire someone else to give a completely different answer? And pay them a shit ton of money. Let me see. Of course, they'll be calling Dr. Russell and the crash daddies. Because let's face it, that's what we're here for, ladies, isn't it? I'd like to hear from Renee Stonebridge. She was the neurologist, director of cardiac and neuropathology. So she did the neuropathology medical examination of John's brain. The hottie with the lottie. They don't need to call Irene back. Lucky Loughren. I think he'll be in. Who else? Not sure about Richard Green. Now he was the tech data, the phone, because Whiffen was with Celebrite and Kevin Green was a defense witness who had his own business extracting phone data and stuff. And he came up with different answers. And someone was telling me the other day that I can't remember, it was in Whiffen's testimony at the very end that I must have missed, but apparently Celebrite, they made it out like it was a an error, but they actually changed the formula. They changed the way that it read that information immediately after that trial. So I'll have to go back and have a look at Whiffen's statement, his testimony. Someone said that. Not looking. Who else? So I'm not sure if they might call him. I don't know. Or if they created enough doubt with the text stream data. All right, so who do we think the first two are going to be? The first two witnesses for the defence? Called. You think he's going to start with civilians or... yeah, Whiffen... he did say something about it, didn't he? About him changing that specifically because of this case. Why should the defence have to incur the witnesses' costs when the prosecution hasn't? That's the cost of a defence, darling. You've got to pay it. You've got to pay for all of your witnesses. You've got to pay for all your experts, the whole lot. You don't get reimbursed. If she gets acquitted, there may be a civil, victims of crime. I don't know where you would go from there. Could be a proper. They always submit a motion to dismiss. Always when the state rests. Every time. Little miss has to get some docs within an hour. No, I doubt it. Whiffen said as a result of the first trial. Yeah, I'm sure. So that to me says that they've changed it. So now that it fits with the second trial. Because the other tech data companies didn't. They still use it. At least that's what I got out of it. I don't know much about these experts. I know they have to pay the experts. What I'm saying is that Karen will incur further costs. Yeah, she's got to pay for their accommodation, their travel, the whole lot. That's why she's up to over $5 million. Yep. It's fucking bullshit, mate. It's bullshit. See? How about I ask Whiffen? I can do that. All right. I need to get some endo. Whilst this is out. Okay, so I'm adding. I'll share my screen, hey, so you can see what I'm doing, so that you know that I'm not being You can actually see what I'm typing and know what I'm doing. Okay, so this is the bit where you put in what things you want to look at, all right? So I want at, oh, come on, at Karen Reed trial 2 and Karen Reed trial 1. Now, okay, identify and extract the testimony of Ian Whiffen with regards to the, oh, was that my phone? No. I reckon he's gone to sleep. What time was that last text message? 11:30. Well, if he's gone to sleep, then he hasn't had a visitor, so. With regards to the Sally Bright program, just with regards to the Sally Bright program, and any alterations made to that program and the reasoning behind the need for the change. Right. Go. Judge should not deny when considering prosecution of not McBurden. Yeah. She won't. No way. No way. And all of those what else, all the time wasting, that's what Brennan's been doing, has been bleeding her dry. Or trying to. Come on. It's telling me all the folders it's going through to search for what I'm after. I think I've put, have I? Have I? Have I? I can't remember. I think I have. Come on. Oh. I'm sure I put a Chandler Holderson file in here. Yeah, I did. I have a complete synopsis. So where are all these files? Where do have I saved them under Karen Reid? Probably. No doubt. Oops. It's not something I would do. No. Surely not. Oh, come on, move it. I'm still learning this database. How do I save it in here now? Paste. Oh, you can just pick that up. Yeah. Pick it up. All right, I'm going to open that bucket. It was empty. I have no idea. There should be a file here. Oh, it's this one. Move, that's it. File 2. Move. I hate a messy menu. All right, so it's 1, 2, and what's that? It's Proctor. Okay, so that needs to go in there too. Move. Trial 2. So that's separate. Move that too. Right. Over these statements. 2. Thank you. My finger's either too slow or too quick, especially while it's cold. Oops. Okay, so now we've got them down to 2, which is how I want it. So trial 1, trial 2. Sample questions. These are mushroom. I'm supposed to have files for all of those. Like, I created files for all of that. I don't know. I'll sort it out later. All right. Oh, crap. Where's my chat? Even if in testimony. Okay. Sorry. Okay, background. Gee. Oh. Works for Celebrate, a company that develops digital forensic software. Not in big in it either. Zoom. There we go. Again. Okay. Is that better? Testified in both trials regarding issues of the interpretation of timestamp data from Jennifer McCabe's phone. Hustle on to dying cold. Works with Celebrate, involved in digital forensics. All right, the issue. Richard Green interpreted this timestamp to mean the search was conducted at 2:27. The prosecution, through Ian Whiffen and other experts, contended the search was actually conducted at approximately 6:23. Whiffen explained that the 2:27 a.m. timestamp did not represent when the search was conducted, but when the browser tab containing that search was created or brought into focus. So in other words, if you go into Google Chrome and you don't close it down, it sits in the back of your phone there before you swipe it up to get rid of it. That could have been sitting there for ages, and that search could have been done at any time. The Safari browser in iOS records timestamps differently than expected. The timestamp in the browser state database represented that when a tab was opened or brought into focus, not when a search was conducted. So, if you go into your iPhone and you swipe up and you get rid of that top one and the next one pops up in your face, that's what he's talking about. So brought into focus, that one there, and then you go, oh shit, I don't need that either. Swipe up, get rid of that. But it had been brought into focus. That's my understanding. Oh, need tissue. I've rearranged my desk so many times. Now I can't find jack shit. Trying to make it user friendly. Oh, fucking boxes of bastards right here, like an hour ago. I shit you not. Oh, that's something better. More Tim Tams. Right over there. Okay. So the tab can be reused multiple times. Modification. In trial 1, during cross-examination, we've acknowledged that Celebrate had to modify their software based on the misinterpretation of data in this case. Are you aware that Celebrate has had to modify their software based on misinterpretation of data as you've done in this case? Yes. The omission revealed that Celebrate recognised there was an issue with how their software was displaying or interpreting certain timestamp data. They updated the ASRI component of their software to address this issue. The update was applied to only one of their 2 programs, specifically the Insights version. the standard physical analyzer program was still reporting the original timestamp data. So Richard Green provided information to the investigators who had asked about the timestamp, wrote a blog post explaining this issue since he found it was a relatively common point of confusion, eventually reached out to Whiffen, is it? Yes, Whiffen speaking to Richard Green. Sorry, I misinterpreted that. Eventually reached out to Richard Green, offering to discuss the issue, but never received a response. In fact, the fact that Celebrate modified their software in response to this case indicates that the misinterpretation of timestamps was a significant issue that warranted a software update to prevent similar misunderstandings in future investigations. Implications. It acknowledges that forensic software can misinterpret data, requiring updates to correct these issues. I wonder if those text stream things in the Lexus have those updates so that they've got, the latest operating system from the cloud. I don't know. It demonstrates that Celebrate recognised the need to prevent in the future, reveals that during a period of transition, Celebrate was writing 2 different versions of their software. The alteration to the Celebrate software was made specifically to address the issue of timestamp interpretation in browser data, ensuring that future analysis would correctly understand what such timestamps actually said. There you go. Straight out of the words from the database. Out of the words from Ian Whiffen, actually. All right, now I need to upload yesterday's 22. Day 22. 23 won't be ready yet. I don't think, but I'll give it a go. That's the one. I can't see. Sorry, hang on. Okay. So that is the video that we were talking about. Steve did a live yesterday on stream. All right. So we don't even think I need to do that. There's my software. Come on. No. I want transcripts, not summary. Thank you. No. Please. Extract it. Yep. No, that. Trial 2. 23. Literature. Yes. Oh. Day 22. Can I read 2.5? Right. That's saved. Now I go back into AI and I add a new file, which will be in our 2 transcripts. Day 22. Uploading. How'd you on? Sorry. So you can see it's uploading this file now, which is yesterday's transcript of day 22. Right there. Ta-da! Into trial 2 again. Here we go. So it's in there. That easy. Mind you, it took me, well, there's 36 days in trial 1. We're up to 32 in trial 2. So The first 5, 6, 7 probably took me nearly an hour each because I didn't know how to work it. What I mean, trial and error. And my way of learning is doing it myself. And then I generally go in and find it. Day 22. Not giving up anyway, but comes in to right now. To the bottom. I need into a chat. Provide detailed analysis and summary of this. Yep. Done. That will generate a report of the summary of it, so that if ever I need to go back, I will have the full transcript and then a summary saved, and it's creating Day 22 Paralegal retrial heavily featured the continued cross-examination of Dr. Welcher, a biomechanical engineer, by the defence, Mr. Lessie, the prosecution. Mr. Brennan conducted a brief redirect examination, and the defence challenged Dr. Welcher's methodologies, data interpretation, and conclusions regarding the alleged collision between Karen's Lexus and John O'Keefe. Key themes, so it goes through all the key themes. It does a detailed analysis of what they went through, and overall impression. The defence effectively challenged Dr. Welcher's expertise. The cross-examination aimed to undermine the credibility of Dr. Welcher's testimony and cast doubt on the prosecution's case. It is clear that the defence is trying to make the point that Mr. O'Keefe could have been hit by something other than the Lexus that Miss Reed was driving. Funny that. The prosecution's attempt to rehabilitate Dr. Welcher's testimony, and the prosecution attempted to rehabilitate Dr. Welcher's testimony and defend his methodologies. Bam! Nothing. So that will be summary. And so that just sits in the database there, ready for whenever I put in Karen Reed 2.0, all of that will be
Okay. Easy as that. Easy as 1, 2, 3. You know, eh? Oh, all right. Well, I suppose we'll have another night. You know. Yeah, I'm actually hungry. That time, isn't it? 2:30. Yeah. All right. Well. And, ooh, thank you for joining me. I didn't realise it was only going to be that short. Well, that's good. It gives me a good chance to have a good night's sleep. And Miss Tanya, I will see you in the morning about 10:30. And hopefully, I hear back between now and then. If not, fingers crossed. I'll bring it with me in the morning. All right, sweetheart. You stay safe and warm. Love to all. Hope all is well. And we'll see you tomorrow. So, for fuck's sake. Hang on. Get that off. It's got to be a big face. Fuck's sake. Stay away from Hank in America. Bye.
It's been 12 months since acquittal, and so much has passed us by. Such as tampering with evidence, and some blatant flat-out lies. I bet he wears those silky undies, the ones with that chain made of lace. So you can bring in Massachusetts, 'cause we all ain't got no quit. And we all know that the truth is my car is not the thing John hates.